When you examine the contents of a standard Army Air Force C-1 Survival Vest from 1944, you aren't looking at a camping checklist. You are looking at a desperate, calculated bid for life in the most hostile environments on Earth. It is, honestly, baffling how modern survivalism has drifted away from this hard-won philosophy, trading durability and psychological assurance for high-tech gadgets that, well, fail the moment the battery dies. Before we tear into the specific loadouts that kept downed pilots alive in the Pacific Theatre and how you can replicate their logic today, take a second to subscribe to Atten Recounts, because we are building a community here that values forgotten history and practical skills over modern fluff. The men who packed these kits didn't care about comfort or glamping, and neither should you if your goal is actual survival. The philosophy of the Second World War survival kit prioritized escape over comfort. The fundamental disconnect between a 1940s bailout bag and a modern bug-out bag is the objective. Modern kits are often designed with the implicit assumption that you will be surviving in a static location, perhaps waiting out a storm in relative safety. The WWII mindset was entirely different, as it assumed you were being hunted, you were moving, and you were likely injured. The items were chosen for escape and evasion, known as E and E. You can apply this immediately by stripping your current kit of comfort items that add weight without aiding movement. Instead of a heavy sleeping bag, the WWII kit utilized a lightweight poncho that doubled as a shelter half and a camouflage blind. If you want to replicate this, stop packing for a weekend trip and start packing for a forced march. Swap your heavy tent for a strictly utilitarian bivy sack or a heavy-duty tarp that honestly forces you to rely on terrain for protection rather than nylon walls. The goal is to move fast and stay hidden, not to sleep well. Redundancy was sewn into the clothing itself, rather than carried in a pack. One of the most brilliant innovations of the war was the realization that a soldier might lose his pack, his vest, or even his boots, but he would likely still have his shirt and pants. Intelligence organizations like MI9 began hiding survival tools directly inside the uniform. We see brass compasses concealed inside tunic buttons and silk maps sewn into the lining of bomber jackets. This is a concept you can use right now called on-body survival. Do not rely on a backpack that can be stolen or dropped during a crisis. You should be sewing hidden pockets into the waistbands of your durable field pants to hold cash, a microcompass, and a map printed on fabric. You can achieve this modern equivalent by printing local topographical maps on Tyvek paper, which is waterproof and tear-resistant, and sewing it behind the patch of a jacket or tucking it into the sole of a boot. If you lose your main bag, you must not lose your ability to navigate. Psychological preservation was treated as a biological necessity. We often look at the contents of a vintage Gibson Girl radio kit or a life raft ration tin, and honestly, we might laugh at the inclusion of hard candy, gum, or even cigarettes. But this actually reveals a deep understanding of survival psychology that, well, modern gear tends to ignore. The designers back then knew that panic kills faster than starvation. A stick of gum or a piece of chocolate provided a momentary semblance of normalcy that could snap a soldier out of a shock spiral and allow him to make rational decisions. To apply this to your own preparation, you need to include a morale module in your kit. This isn't about nutrition. It's really about mental regulation. Pack a vacuum-sealed bag of your absolute favorite coffee, a small photo of family, or even a specific spice that makes forage food palatable. When the adrenaline crashes and the reality of a survival situation sets in, that small luxury acts as a psychological anchor, preventing the fatal apathy that historians note in so many survival accounts. Tools were designed for indefinite use and field repair. If you look at a modern folding knife, you often see complex locking mechanisms and moulded plastic handles that are impossible to repair if they snap. Contrast this with the Case V42 stiletto or even the standard-issue pocket knives of the era, which used stacked leather, brass and carbon steel. These tools were designed to be sharpened on a river rock and fixed with wire. The WWII philosophy dictates that if you cannot repair an item in the field, it does not belong in your long-term kit. You should audit your gear today and remove anything that requires a proprietary battery or a factory technician to fix. Replace your battery-dependent flashlights with a shake-weight or crank flashlight, or better yet, learn to make tallow candles. Replace your complex multi-tool with a fixed-blade knife that has a full tang. The application here is simple. Assume that whatever you pack is the last of its kind you will ever see. If it breaks, can you fix it with a rock and a piece of wire? If the answer is no, throw it out. You do not need to scour antique stores to build a kit that honors these principles, but you do need to change your purchasing habits. Start by creating a survival vest system similar to the C-1. This means distributing your weight across your torso rather than putting it all on your back. Purchase a fishing vest or a tactical load-bearing vest and dedicate specific pockets to specific categories: fire, water, signalling and navigation. Fill these pockets with items that serve multiple purposes. A WWII C-1 pilot carried a silk map, not just for navigation, but because the silk could be used to filter water or bandage a wound. Replicate this by carrying a large cotton bandana or chamois. Use it as a sling, a water filter, a dust mask, or a signal flag. Test your kit by walking 5 miles with it. If things rattle, if things chafe, or if you cannot access your map without taking off the vest, you have failed the test. Refine it until it is a part of your body. The survival kits of the 1940s were not perfect, but they were honest. They admitted that the situation was dire and provided the user with the raw materials to fight their way back to safety. Modern gear often tries to sell you the illusion that you can buy safety. But history tells us that safety is a series of decisions made by a prepared mind. By adopting the redundancy, durability and psychological awareness of the WWII's era, you are equipping yourself with history's most effective survival tool: a realistic mindset. Make sure you subscribe to Atten Recounts and share this with the people in your circle who need to wake up and start taking their preparedness seriously.